The nice thing about drum circles is that it gives people an opportunity to get together.
It's about being a part of the music and being in that moment and being together with the group.
My Beat gets in there to provide these rhythm activities for any kind of a community that's looking for an energizing, community-building event. We work at the corporate level. What kind of a beat does your company move by? What is it that drives your company? We usually get a group of people who are non-drummers. But our role as a facilitator now is to get in there and move them to the next step, to get them to play together.
To know that people with absolutely no experience playing the drums but able to, at the end of the day, make some kind of music which is so beautiful and so well synchronized and it all falls in place, it's amazing.
As long as you have the heartbeat, then you have the rhythm. Because the way we talk, the way we walk, is all rhythm.
We also work with wellness.
You know, people with Parkinson's, they had tremor, but somehow along the process, their tremor goes in rhythm. They forget about their Parkinson's. It's very special. I feel that everybody is at one with each other.
My Beat is the only organization in Malaysia that's certified to train drum circle facilitators. What we're trying to do is build up a community of facilitators here in Malaysia.
We've seen it growing to a huge community of over 100 people, and it's still growing.
一直以来，我们都是在学习，一直在学习，一直在帮助我们自己提升。
So when I stepped in, the only intention is how could I serve the circles of people to bring out the best of them.
有不同语言的，不同的国家来了，但是当你真正在这个 drum circle 里面开始的时候，你会看到没有语言，只有一个东西，就是音乐。
This is something that drum circles provides, is just a sense of being within a community that can synchronize and create something beautiful together.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Being Whole, Being Me, Series 96. If you got excited, you should be, because, well, that's what drums do for me. So today we have, is he special? Is John special? I got to think whether John is special. But I can tell you that every time I bump into John, my heart beats in a very special way. Whether it's positive or not, I'm not sure. Because a lot of times the conversation with John makes me pause, stop at my track, rethink what I think I know, and help me to reconnect within and dig deeper to find me that could be lost in some spaces. Which is why today we have John Hagedorn to join us. And he is going to talk about facilitation as a life skill. And you will know why we actually decided on this topic when you meet John. So without further ado, let's meet John.
Hi, Ma.
Hi, John.
You make my heart race too. Every time I bump into you, I have a panic attack because I think I have to meet these expectations that you have. How you doing?
Now I'm rethinking that what you just said. Okay, so I better set my expectation right today, John. Yes,
Set 'em lower. Set 'em
I have
lower,
very
yeah.
high expectations of you. I'm good. I'm good. I am a little bit anxious actually because I'm going to be talking to you because I'm thinking I hope as John speaks to me and as I listen to him, I can be present. So
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking. Yes. So welcome. Thank you for saying yes to the show.
Thank you for showing my video.
You're most welcome. And as I watch it, of course, I'm getting excited. It's like, oh, I need to get back into drum circles again because
Yeah, well, you did. You attended a program. In fact, you even sent your kids.
yes, yes.
Yeah, wow, that's a good thing. If kids learn this at a very early age, it teaches them how to interact with people, how to communicate with people, gives them confidence. You saw the other woman who was facilitating the drum circles in that video, right? That's my daughter, Bronwyn. I brought Arthur. Arthur Hall is the drum circle facilitation guru. He's my sensei. And I brought him to Malaysia to start doing drum circle facilitation training in 2006. And at the time, Bronwyn was 11 years old. So I dragged her along with me. And I said, just come to this. We're going to be drumming. It's going to be fun. And over the course of many years, well, first, Bronwyn for a long time was the youngest qualified drum circle facilitator in the whole world. Then she became the youngest mentor, then the youngest certified facilitator. And now she's on the same level as I am right now. Bronwyn and I are both certified as drum circle facilitator trainers. She got her certification last year. So now after 17 years of attending drum circle training and a lot of drum circle experience, Bronwyn and I work together anytime that we have a major corporate gig or some kind of a drum circle that we've got to do. So we're a good team.
Nice, nice. Well, I do remember meeting Bronwyn when, every time she is the youngest everywhere in that sense, right? And I didn't realize what 17 years.
Yeah, well, yeah. Bronwyn's 28 now, and she started at 11. So that's a long time to be working in the drum circle community.
Yeah. I do think that when I first brought Shruti, my eldest, to the drum circle, well, I didn't have the twins at that time, which means that she's 19 this year. So that was, quite a number of years ago. So, well, time passed. And
time to bring her back.
Yes, I hope so. And
it's time for you to come back too.
No, I want to come back. It heals. If it's not anything, I love the drums, but most.
Well, you use that word heals. My Beat Drum Circles also runs a conference every 2 or 3 years, depending on how motivated we are. The conference is for drum circle facilitators and rhythm people. And we usually run it a lot parallel to a series of workshops. We bring in rhythm facilitators from all over the world. And we run the conference down at the Thistle Resort in Port Dickson. And in 2016, that was the theme of our conference. That was Rhythm Heals. And we had a lot of music therapists. We had music teachers. We had dance teachers. We had drummers. We had drum circle facilitators. We had, I guess, about 60 people for that conference. So, yeah, just the idea that rhythm really heals. It works on people's psyche mentally. It works on them physically. It's quite a powerful tool.
It is whole self healing. I mean, that's why I love it. And whenever I can, I've tried bringing it into my work and in groups. But I need more practice for sure to get back into the circle. So
yeah, the healing aspect as well. You noticed in the video that where the video was in 3 parts: corporate, wellness, and training. And during the wellness section, since 2013, My Beat has been closely associated with the Malaysian Parkinson's Disease Association. We do rhythm exercises for them. You attended that as well, yeah? Right. And you notice that when the people with Parkinson's come in, they have, their tremors, and some of them can't walk or anything like that. But you'd be surprised, despite their disabilities, when we start drumming together, all of these people are playing together in rhythm. Many years ago, there was a woman there, a person with Parkinson's. Her name was Rajis, and she has since passed away. But Rajis had a special drum that she always liked to use. It was one of those red Bahia bass drums, right? And when she came in, she always had very bad tremors in her hands, and she'd sit down and she'd shake like that. And we would put the mallet in her hand and start the rhythm. And within moments, she was playing in rhythm, and the tremors just went away. And for as long as there was a rhythm, she was a person without Parkinson's. And then when we stopped to relax, we would take the mallet away, and very gradually, you'd start to see those tremors coming back again. But as long as there was a rhythm, as long as there was a sense of community, and as long as there was the ability for her to think in the moment without thinking about her Parkinson's, I don't know what it is. Something about the rhythm short circuits the Parkinson's in the brain. But for as long as we had the rhythm, Rajis was a person without Parkinson's. So we've seen some amazing things happen within the drum circle.
Yes, I think the 2 times I've attended, I've only been inspired by the sparkle in their eyes and the smile on their face. Yeah. It's just, I'm usually dumbfounded when I go, and when I get back, I just want to not do anything, because there's just so much of energy and reflection.
It's overwhelming and very rewarding. Very rewarding.
It is. The kind of, well, and in fact, I think if for those who've joined us, hi Gerald, thank you for joining us, and for those who have joined us on LinkedIn very quietly, say hello so that we can say hello to you too. The work that John does with the Parkinson group is something that if you can just attend once, and watch how your thoughts and life and your spirit changes as you just observing them. This is not even
inspiring. It's inspiring.
They're very inspirational. Just talking about them makes me feel inspired. So, hi, Dr. Prasad. It's good, but we're not getting more information. I'm not too sure what you mean. If you can be a bit more expressive about what information you want, we'll try and get to that. John, do you know Dr. Prasad?
I've seen the name before. I don't think we've met personally, no.
Okay. So, yes, Dr. Prasad, tell us what you want, and I'm sure John can give it to you. So, John, today we're talking about, you've introduced very quickly drum facilitation, which is fantastic. And is that what I remember you for? I'm not sure. I love the fact that I've met you and I've had a chance to be introduced to drum circle. But really, I know you are the master facilitator, and you are you always talk about facilitation. So help us understand from your point of view, what do you mean by facilitation and what we need to perhaps understand about facilitation.
There's a backstory that goes along with this, because I've been working as a teacher or a trainer for many, many years. And it wasn't until 2005 that I was really introduced to the concept of what facilitation is really all about. Right. I attended one of Arthur Hull's drum circle facilitation programs in Maryland in the United States. Now, my intention at the time was that, I knew that drum circles were out there, and I thought it would be really cool if I could start doing drum circles as team building, and thereby, play the drums a lot more and do a lot less with business writing, negotiations, presentation skills, and the stuff that I was so familiar doing in training. So I attended his program, and Arthur has a process that he uses to facilitate a drum circle. And Using this process, you can get a group of non-drummers from 0 level to performance level over the course of just 1 hour of playing together. And he calls this process the map. Now, when he was explaining this to me, he had a stick and he was drawing it on the ground. And what he drew when he was explaining the map to me was a hyperbolic curve, all right, where you have learning up going one side and you have experience going the other way. And you have this hyperbolic curve that kind of goes up, right? And the curve represents the decrease in the amount of facilitator contact and the increase in the amount of participant control. And when I looked at that hyperbolic curve for his map, I thought, wait a minute, I've seen this so many times as a trainer because we're all familiar with this hyperbolic curve. Back in 1965, Bruce Tuckman came up with his theory of group development. We're all familiar with this: forming, storming, norming, performing. All right. And I knew this. All trainers know this. Yeah. But when Arthur introduced the map to me, I realized that along with these 4 stages of group development, there are also 4 different roles that you can take as a facilitator that will move the group through the process more quickly. All right. So at the forming stage, all right, to explain the drum circle process, Arthur says that there are 4 stages. First, you're a dictator. You tell everybody what they need to know. You teach them the body language. If necessary, you teach them a little bit of how to drum, stuff like that, so that your group knows what they need to know. You're training, you're giving them content, you're giving them information. But at this stage, everybody's still pretty much in individual consciousness. Like, how do I play these drums? Oh my gosh, that person is so much better than I am. I've never played the drums before. Oh, I'm going to panic. This is going to be so bad. You know, they're all inside their heads. So at the dictator level, what you're trying to do is move them out of individual consciousness and more into group consciousness. And as soon as you see it happening, your role now changes from dictator to director. Now, as a director, you want to help your participants draw their attention to the group so that they understand that they're not at this level. They're not all alone in this circle, but they're playing together as a group, right? So you start to highlight in the drum circle, you start to highlight some of the sections in the drum circle, all right? Generally speaking, in a drum circle, you've got drums and you've got percussion, right? The drums, you'll get low drums, high drums, and middle drum. And percussion, you get bells, shakers, and woods. So what we're doing with these 6 different elements is pointing them out at the director stage so everybody sees what's happening now inside the drum circle. And, oh, okay, we're playing together as a group. So you've elevated their consciousness. Now, at the director stage and the dictator stage and the director stage, you want to kind of move through that very quickly. You want to give them the content that they need in order to perform at the level that they're capable of. All right. So those first 2 levels there are all about training. They're all about content, right? And we try to move through those very quickly. 10 minutes, 15 minutes out of a 1-hour drum circle. But then you move to the facilitator stage. And here is where you start using what they know in order to help them continue to have small successes that help to build their confidence. So now they're playing more as an ensemble, all right? We realize now that the group is capable of doing the tasks that we've been given, and now we can perform. And the facilitator is going to go in there with challenges that will help bump them to the next level and kind of monitor their progress to see if they're getting it. And if not, the facilitator might have to just step back a little bit and retrain and then move forward again. So the facilitator's role is kind of monitoring and challenging. And once they've been challenged to the limit, the drum circle should be able to perform on their own. Now they've reached the 4th level, which is orchestration. And the 4th level for the facilitator now is orchestrator. So it's dictator, director, facilitator, orchestrator. But at the higher levels here, facilitation and orchestration, you're now no longer facilitating content. You're now facilitating process. All right. They have what they need to know. So you don't need to give them, you don't need to teach them anymore. You don't need to train them anymore. Now you need to work with what they've got. And it's going to be more pulling out of what you can get rather than pushing in. Okay. And this, when I first realized this back in 2005, when I attended Arthur's first training, he changed the way I did my training forever. All right. Before 2005, the way I worked as a trainer was very much how to. All right. Here's how to write a good email. Here's how to design a good PowerPoint slide. Here's how to win a negotiation. Yeah, you know, that kind of stuff. Info, give, read some PowerPoint slides. 80% in, 20% out. Okay, now let's do a quick little exercise. All right, very good. Now I'm going to teach you the next thing. Here's how to. And my training programs were all very how to, right? But after I learned the process of facilitation, I realized, hey, look, you know, it's not about what you push in. It's about what you can pull out. It's about what you can get out of people, all right, and challenge them at each level so that they continue to develop over the course of the training that you're giving them. So now when I do my training programs, it's not about content. I give them a little bit of content in the beginning, what they need to know, but then it's going to be process. All right, now let's see what you can do. And now my training programs are 80% out and 20% tweaking and refinement. So this whole idea of facilitation has changed the way I work. It's changed the way I train, because here's the finale. All right. Tuckman's theory says forming, storming, norming, performing. There are 4 different levels of group development. Arthur Hull's map has 4 different roles as a facilitator. All right. For each stage in Tuckman's theory of development, Arthur has a corresponding role as a facilitator. So during the forming stage, you're a dictator. Tell them what they need to know. During the norming stage, you want to get them groupy, get them together, get them working as a group, right? During the storming stage. But when they start to norm, that's when you start to facilitate. Now they know what they need to know. So let's do process instead of content. All right. And finally, at the orchestration stage, you can pretty much step out of the circle, right? Because the group of people now can perform at the level that you intended to get them to. So for each stage of the process, the facilitator has a role. And if your radar is on, if you see where your group is, if you see what your group needs, all right, then as a facilitator, you know which intervention to apply at each stage in order to move the group to their highest potential level. So that's the background. That's where facilitation comes from. And once you really understand the process of the process of drum circle facilitation applies in so many other areas. All right. Drum circle facilitation is a metaphor for 100 million different things that you do in your life.
Thank you. Well, that was a lot actually. So
yeah, I hope that gives the information that Dr. Prabha was looking for.
Yeah, we'll wait for his comment to see whether, yeah. Dr. Prasad, yeah.
Oh,
Tell
Dr.
us,
Prasad,
yeah. I'm just going to welcome Nimala Bhaskaran, Dr. Nimala. She says, good day all. Hi, Mallory and John. Sounds very interesting about rhythm and Parkinson. She's a doctor.
Okay.
I'm already curious. Well, Nimala, tell us what else you're curious about, and I'm sure John will enlighten you if he.
Yeah, watch our Facebook page, My Beat Drum Circles. My Beat Drum Circles. That's our Facebook page. Because when we play at the Parkinson Center, I usually get a flyer from the Parkinson Center, and I post it on the My Beat Drum Circles Facebook page. So watch for that. Then you know the dates, the times, the location.
Right. Do you have anything coming up already?
Hopefully in June, if not July.
Okay, you'll look out for it. Now, we have posted, yeah, it's my big drum circle. And well, just follow the page and you can join John. And I hope I can join John. Um, yeah, in the drum circle or any other drum circle. I think that they also do a lot of community drum circles. And
Right.
yeah, it's being in the drum circle is an experience. That's all I can say for now.
Yeah. At the community level, we work with schools, we work with churches, we work with other organizations. At the corporate level, it really depends on what the client is looking for. There are three different ways to work at the corporate level. You can do corporate entertainment, right? Like maybe the company is having an away day or something like that. A drum circle is just fun. Then there's the team building level, where we use the drum circle as a metaphor for team building, much the same way I just explained this group development process. And drum circles and rhythm games and drum circle interventions also work at the corporate development level, professional development. I use a lot of drum circle games and interventions in my training programs. For example, a long time ago, I was doing a business writing training program. And when my participants came into the room, every participant had a small drum sitting on the table. And I introduced it by saying, all right, the best way that we can all get synchronized in our minds so that we're all on the same page is by drumming together, by playing a rhythm together. Okay, so everybody follow me and do what I do. Ready? Bum, 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 bum. Keep doing what I do. Bum, 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 bum. And everybody was sitting there. And at first it was, interesting, fun, different. And they were smiling. But after a while, you could tell people were going bum, 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 bum. And they kept on doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And it got boring and it got tiring. And it was doing what I told them to do. All right. So I was shoving it down their throats. They played the same thing over and over again, and they got bored. And once I noticed that the mood had changed and people were getting bored, I said, all right, wait a minute. I said, what's the problem here? Why is this not exciting for you? And they said, it's starting to get boring. We're doing the same thing over and over and over again. We're doing exactly what you told us to do. And that's where I brought it in and said, well, look, what if you were able to do whatever you wanted to do and you could have a little bit more fun? All right. I'm going to give you a count. All right. Do whatever you want to do, but let's do it together. All right. I'm just going to count, play whatever you want to play. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there were some people who were still in this, do the same thing. But other people were going dun, 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 dun. And then there were polyrhythms and there was interesting sound and there were smiles and people looking at each other. And I would have one guy going bop, bop, and another guy would go bop, bop, bop. All right. So there was kind of like a dialogue going on. And suddenly this drum exercise became fun because now they were allowed to do whatever they wanted to do instead of doing what they were told to do and doing all the same thing all the time. I said, okay, very good. Now that we're all synchronized, now that we're all on the same page, let me talk to you about business writing. You had more fun in the drum circle here when you could do whatever you wanted to do and when you were all not told to do the same thing. Now, let's apply that to your business writing. Why is it that you still do the same thing all the time when you write a business email? All right. Enclosed herewith, please find as requested by your good self the documents for your perusal. Should you have any inquiries regarding the aforementioned, please do not hesitate to contact the undersigned. Sound familiar? Why do you do that all the time? Doesn't that get boring? Doesn't that sound like it's not really communication? You know, it sounds like you were told what to do by your Form 4 English teacher, and that's what you're still doing to this day. So now in this business writing program, I'm going to break you away from that so that when you write your email, you can do whatever you want to do. So we use that metaphor, break away from the format, and free yourself up, play whatever you want to play, write whatever you want to write. And it's going to be much more communicative and a lot more fun. So we can use these interventions at 3 different levels: entertainment, team building, and professional development.
Nice, nice. I like the concept of freedom that you spoke about, right? But I'm not too sure, because when we talk about moving, you very beautifully showed us how people move from boredom, that is for just doing what you do, which is okay initially, but eventually we all want to express ourselves in the way we are, right? And yeah, and that's the freedom that you're giving, and that's the freedom people need to bring their best versions out, their best self out, which is what facilitation is all about. Because and that's why when you took us through the process, I think it was really beautiful, because we need to know the role that we are playing depending on where the people are, so that we minimize the bits of content, because the belief is people have all the resources they need. And what we're doing is we're just opening up, their resourcefulness. And then, like what you say, you're helping them to connect with their own resourcefulness, and you're pulling that out of them. And when you pull that out of them, it becomes them living their life, them playing their rhythm, them bringing out their best self and being the free person that they are, which is where I think joy is, right? Because I think that's really what everybody wants to do. I just want to be free to be me. And that requires facilitation.
Yes. And that's why one of the mantras, or one of the sayings that drives facilitation for me is paraphrasing Galileo here. Galileo said, "You can't teach anybody anything. You can only help them find it within themselves." Right? So in other words, everybody has the potential to do whatever it is that you want them to do. But if you're standing there at the front of a training program, or in the front of a classroom, or any situation where you're developing a group, right? And all you're doing is teaching and shoving things down their throat and training, you're not really allowing that natural potential to, you're not letting it birth itself, right? You're just giving them a lot of information. And sometimes as a result, the natural potential gets buried under all of the additional information that you're giving them. So your role as a facilitator, your role as a trainer is to give them information, dump it in, show them how to. But your role as a facilitator is to give birth to that potential, all right? To recognize it, okay? The theme that Village Music Circles, Arthur Hall's company is called Village Music Circles. And he uses the theme that says developing human potential through rhythm, right? It's all, and that's what facilitating is all about. It's about developing potential of an individual, developing potential of a group, developing potential of an organization, all right? But developing potential is a process. It's not it's not shoveling information in, Okay, now we've got the information. What do we do with this information? How do we use it? What are we going to do with it? And unless people are actually doing things, unless they've got their hands on something, unless they've got a metaphor that will clearly illustrate to them what's actually happening during this process, they're never really going to know what to do with the information that they've got. You're never going to give birth to that potential underlying. All right. A example, illustration, story. I was doing a huge drum circle, 300 people, for a pharmaceutical company up in Penang. They were merging their Singapore and Kuala Lumpur offices. So they went up to Penang to celebrate the merger and to build the team. And they closed their conference with a huge drum circle. And it was one of the most successful circles that we've ever done. They had a large ring of bass drums in the middle, and a couple of the guys who were involved in this were actually drummers, so they could drive the circle. You know, it always pays to have a couple of shills, a couple of good drummers in there that can drive the circle a little bit. So these guys are driving the circle, and everybody else is joining in. They synchronized immediately, and they went through this 4-step process, boom, 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 like that. And all of a sudden, the group is they're already norming, right, in just a short time. So I got them to orchestration, and I just stepped outside the circle, and I was just letting these people drum. And if I had walked out the door and gotten in my car and drove back to Kuala Lumpur, they would have drummed for another 2 hours, and they would have been perfectly happy without me. All right. But they had seen what I was doing as a facilitator, as a leader in the circle. So after I left the circle and I was watching what was going on, suddenly one of the guys from the center of the circle stood up, and he started beating on his drum, doing a call and response. Boom, 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 boom. And the whole circle followed him. So now this group is not only at orchestration, but they're also taking over the leadership of the circle, right? And this happened just over the course of 1 hour, that people felt not just like that they were a part of a group, but they could actually step in and lead this group that had gone through this process. Just over the course of an hour, we had developed a handful of leaders.
I think all that you say is very exciting. And I've seen this excitement when we've run these programs, either with you or when we use these concepts in our program, right? But there are two parts to this, right? This is individuals expressing themselves to bring their best self out.
Right.
And that's what we call, being your best or your optimal performance. But
right.
You need, when we are, I would say, lucky, we're lucky to have a person who can play facilitator, right? Who can draw that out of us, because, and that's what you need sometimes for someone to be there, the right person to be there to draw you out, to help you see what you have.
Exactly.
Right now,
exactly.
John, hold on. I've got a couple of questions that I really want to get with you, right? Because I know we're going back to drum circle. Now, help us understand, right? And in all your years of experience, because our topic today is facilitation as a life skill, and all of us will be in some space where we can play facilitator. We can draw out some things out of people. We can be the person who learns how to draw and bring the best out of people. So what are some qualities, if I can use the word, what do I need to become or to be aware of so that I can be a facilitator of life? Can you take us through using your?
Let's start with a definition. Facilitation basically just means making things easier for everybody. As a facilitator, your job is to make the process easy. So if you want to practice facilitation, not just as a professional facilitator, trainer, corporate facilitator, or drum circle facilitator as a job, facilitation actually becomes a way of life. Simple example. All right, something that occurs regularly here in Kuala Lumpur. All right, we've got a line of cars that. Okay, let's get on the. On the. What's the name of the highway that goes into Bangsar South there? All right, you got a line of cars. Huh?
Is it NPE?
All right, we're on any one of these highways. There's a line of cars that are getting off on the left, all right? And the line of cars that go off to the right, they can go much faster. So way back there, you got a lot of people who are in the line on the right, and they're passing everybody on the left. But then as soon as they have to make that left-hand turn, they try to cut in line, okay? Yeah, you're nodding your head. All of our viewers are nodding their heads. Yeah. We've seen it before. It's happened to me. And the response that I find very often is that if this person is trying to cut in this person here will like get really, really close, all right, saying, oh, well, you're trying to cheat, you know, I'm not going to let you in. And I think, why not just let them go? You know, why get all aggravated? Why stop the flow of traffic for everybody else? If you were just to slow down and let that person in, regardless of their intention, yeah, you know, maybe they're jumping the queue, or, you know, maybe they're trying to screw everybody else, but what the heck, just let them in, you know, facilitate the process. Once they slip in, you forget about it. If you block them, then you get aggressive and it stays with you for a while. So just open it up, make it easy for everybody, you know, because while that person is trying to get into the line on the left, he's blocking traffic for everybody else behind him. Let him in. You facilitate the process. I mean, that's just a very simple thing. But
so it's ideal, right? I mean, I think from an intention perspective. So I would let in 3 tasks. That's what I do in the morning. And after that, when I'm sending my children to school, after the 3rd one, I said, okay, it's my turn now. Because sometimes I find that the moment they know, you know, this car is letting you in, everybody starts getting into your space and you can't get on with your life. I mean, that's just a reaction to what you say. But in life, when we talk about facilitation, I like the definition of making it easy, right? So we're making it easy for people to go through the process and bring the best out of them, right? But what do you think? And I like the metaphor that you give. So as a facilitator, so if I want to make it easy for people, what are some you know, thought process, beliefs that actually stops me?
you listen to BFM?
Sometimes.
All right. On BFM, they have all of these. BFM stands for something. All right. Bring forth money. They say this all the time. You've got, what's his name? Joe Hasham, who gets on there and he gives different phrases for BFM. One of them that I heard in BFM is BFM, being first matters. All right. And when I heard that on BFM, I thought, yeah, you know, that's really true for a lot of people. You know, if you put yourself first all the time, or in many situations, that I think would be a very large barrier to making facilitation a way of life. Because when you're facilitating, okay, back to the drum circle metaphor, all right? One of the biggest problems that I had very early as a drum circle facilitator was getting out of the idea that drum circle facilitation it's not a performance. All right. Now, the reason this was hard for me is because I've been a drummer my whole life. And up until I started drum circle, I was doing drums in a performing situation, either a rock drummer in a rock band or a percussionist in small ensembles. Drumming was performing, right? So when I started out this idea of drum circle facilitation, I would step into the circle thinking, ta-da, you know, drum circle facilitator, look here. And Arthur has a word for that. It's called facilitainment, right? You're not an entertainer. You're not there to entertain this. Yeah, okay, you want them to have a good time. But it's not about you standing in the center of the circle. It's about you trying to draw the best out of everybody else that's in the circle. So it's not about you, all right? When you step into that circle, the intention that you have, as you heard in the video here, your intention is, what can I do as a facilitator to best serve the needs of this circle? What can I do? What intervention can I apply that will move them up to their next level? How can I continue this process of developing their potential? All right. It's not about me. It's about what can I do for them? Right. And this idea of being first, this idea of putting yourself first would make that impossible. How could you draw the best out of other people if the best is yourself?
Yeah. So I think at a theoretical level, or there's so much of evidence that says that we already know in life, not just in the corporate world, in life,
Right. Right.
that you need to allow people to live their life and bring the best out. And we are
Right.
all some form of instruments in our roles to facilitate that as
Right.
parents, as teachers, as managers and leaders, right?
Right.
It's ideal, but in real life, we are rushing for time. Facilitation takes time,
Yes.
right? You would agree with me on that, isn't it? I mean, even I think as a parent, right? I mean, ideally, oh my goodness, ideally, what happens with parenting is that we want to give our children a chance to live their life, but at the same time, you are pushed for, okay, I need to get them to pass through this grade, because not everybody has the luxury of saying, I let you do what you want to do, grow up in your own time, because we live in a system.
That this is why, all right, even raising a child can you use the map, all right, as you raise your children. I've got a book on my shelf here called Nurture the Nature, all right,
Okay.
which means that if you recognize that your kids have a particular talent or a particular propensity or a particular interest, that's what you want to nurture in them, all right. If you see that they're into dinosaurs, you buy them dinosaur books, right? You just keep them on track with what they're most interested in. But now you brought up this idea of children, right? Dictator, director, facilitator, orchestrator. All right. Dictator. During those first couple of years, you're not going to let them do whatever they want to do. You're going to teach them the rules. All right. During the first couple of years of their lives, you are in dictator mode. You are training them. All right. You're telling them what they need to know. You're disciplining them when they do something wrong or something that can harm them. All right. They need to know this stuff. Right. And that's why during very early parenthood, you are a dictator telling them what to do. But then once they start to become a little bit more self-aware, you can move now into the director stage, okay, where you're going to give them a couple of challenges that will help them understand who they are, all right, help them understand where they are in life, help them understand their role in the family, all right, as little helpers or whatever, all right. You're going to give them small successes that are going to make them feel better about themselves. And at the same time, just like in a drum circle, your radar is going to be on 24 hours a day. All right. Arthur uses the term radar. Always have your radar on, about everything that's going on around you. Other people use terms like mindfulness. All right. Environmental awareness. It's all the same thing, right? Just have your radar on all the time, 24 hours in the moment. Right. So you can see exactly what needs to be done in order to move that little child up to the next level. Facilitator. Now you've got teenagers on your hands. All right. So you're going to give them a little bit of freedom because they need it. They want it. They crave it. All right. But if they overstep themselves, you're going to go back a couple of stages here and pull them back as well and say, wait a minute, you've overstepped yourself. All right. And the reason you can do that is because you know the map. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm facilitating this now. I'm letting you go a little bit further. But if you go too far, if you go beyond what I have taught you, if you go beyond my expectations of you, I'm going to pull you back. I'm going to take your phone away for a week. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let you go out next weekend. All right. There are consequences for misbehavior. We're going to move back a step if you exploit the freedoms that I'm giving you. All right. Then once they reach the age of 18, as long as everything that you've done along the way, all right, has been in line with the map, by the time they reach the age of 18 and these kids want to spread their wings, let them go. Let them go. All right. And one of the reasons why people have such trouble with this is because they say, well, I don't trust my child yet at 18. All right. But it's not about trusting the child. It's about trusting the development process that you took them through. If you trust yourself and if you trust the process, then by the time they reach the age of 18 and you know you've done a good job, let them go. Let them go. Let them continue to develop the process that you've started, right? You gave birth to it. Why do you want at this point to push it back down? Why do you want to crush it? All right, let it go, let it grow. Huh? That's what facilitation is all about. When you see it growing, let it grow.
Nice, nice. I just love that. One question has come up, and I think Michael has joined us also. So this is Chu saying, "Hi, John. Going with the traffic scenario, do facilitators make good managers as well?" I think you've answered this, but I'm just going to let it, ask you whether there's anything you want to add. In managing people, you may need to be hard. You may need to be hard to develop them. Yeah. So your response to that, for me, I think this question you answered when you gave the parenting example, because it's really to see where people are and whether you've done the bits from the beginning in the forming stage and the storming stage, because facilitation only comes in the norming stage. But if
Right.
you don't do the right things in the beginning when people have just joined your team, in the forming stage, and storming, if you're not managing these conversations and the conflicts and pulling them back and see how are we fitting in as a culture, and being very clear about the objectives, then you can't get to the norming stage, which is where you can pull out because people are now settled, right? But
Right.
that settling doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah. But Chu says you've already addressed, so thank you. Now
Well,
I'm going to,
let me just
yeah,
address that idea of being hard
right.
in order to develop them, because there are two levels of manage or two different kinds of management. We have what we call compliant management and we have what we call compassionate management. All right. Compassionate management is more about empathy. It's more about facilitation. It's more about getting people where they want to be, helping them to achieve their own vision, right? Compliant management is KPIs. It's focusing on your shortcomings. It's focusing on what ought to be done and what needs to be done instead of how to develop yourself further. Now, it's true what you said. There may be times where you have to be hard. If deadlines are not met, we might have to crunch down and become a little bit more compliant for a little while. In other words, let's go back to dictator. Okay. But once that's done, let's get out of that. You don't want to spend too much time as a dictator. You don't want to be hard all the time. All right. If you're a hard manager, or if you're that type of hard manager all the time, your staff is not going to like you. Your staff is going to get stressed out. Your staff is not going to develop. Believe me, I've seen examples. And if you're listening, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, but having said that, when you talk about leadership style, we also, I think at facilitation level, we know that we are working with people who want to take, are good to take, are happy to take personal responsibility for their choices and the consequences that comes with it. And I think at work, sometimes you inherit people with the mindset of not wanting to take personal responsibility. And maybe those times, facilitation is going to be difficult, right? And for me, with organizations, is that, that's when we know that, like what you said, like with the kids, we have not set some things right in the beginning. We've not done that, and we can't jump the process, right?
Right.
Because we've not done that, now we have to reset and go back there for them to be ready. And I think the whole idea of you taking us through the map is that you want to minimize the bits where you spend giving them content so that they become more engaged, because the more time you spend in facilitation, they are more engaged in life.
Correct. Correct.
And I would agree with you. I would, that none of us enjoy being the dictator, enjoy being in charge of people's life. We don't like it, but sometimes we do it. But let's minimize it. So, and I think that's the whole idea of talking about facilitation, isn't it, John?
It's got to be done. People need to know what they need to know.
Yeah.
And just because you're a dictator doesn't mean you need to be a harsh dictator. You can still give people what they need to know in order to do what they need to do, but do it in a compassionate, empathic way. All right. If it comes to discipline, however, then your role as a dictator might be a little harder. It might be a little tougher. You just got to apply the intervention that's necessary, right? If I find that my daughters if they need correcting, but they didn't do anything wrong, I can step in as a compassionate dictator and correct them. But if they need correcting because they have done something wrong, then I need to step in as a compliant dictator and lay down the law and perhaps a little bit of discipline there. It all depends on the nature of it depends on your intention and the nature of what you're trying to correct.
Yeah, and the readiness of the both parties, right? Because I think just like drum circle facilitation, while the facilitator, you can have the best facilitator in the world in the circle, but if I'm sitting in the crowd, I must want to participate in live at that moment.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And if I'm getting pulled away by not being present at that moment, I'm going to look right and left, get worked up, get nervous, and ignore all the things that you said to pull me out, and I may not have the best experience that I could have had in life. So
True.
I think it's not all on the facilitator, but we're looking at facilitation as a life skill because we need to know that we have those skills. We want to bring the best out of people because people have done that for us if we had that opportunity. But we also know when it works and when it doesn't work, how to go back to our other roles to get to reset that. Now Kennedy Michael says, I won't do that. It encourages bad behavior. Not letting them in is facilitating better behavior. Then people can behave better, be law abiding, and be considerate. I think this is the traffic story, I think. Yeah. And I just before we end, I just want to perhaps end and also put it out to you. I think one of those things about empathy and compassion, I think we have different idea of empathy and compassion because we tend to think hi Kennedy, we tend to think that if you're empathetic, you cannot hold people accountable. If you're compassionate, you cannot hold people accountable. I think that's where sometimes there's that confusion that when you take a stand, when you're assertive and while you understand, while I know what it feels to be in your shoes, while I'm going to be kind to you, but as the best facilitator to pull you out, to pull what's in you out, I also need to be assertive. I need to take a stand, and that may sound harsh to you, but I'm not harsh. It's just difficult for you, right? And I think people it can be confusing. And again, right, I think what you do in drum circle and as a communication facilitator is that whenever we do drum circle facilitation, we are looking at really being present holistically. The whole person needs to be in that role, and that's what you get us to do when we become more conscious and we are rigid. You're not shifting our rigidity, you're learning how you're helping us let go of the rigidness, because only when I let go of what is not me, I can be present, which is actually mindfulness, right? And you do that in step by helping us to let go of bits and be successful and feel the freedom in your system so that you want to do it more and learn how to do it as a life skill. Because once you're able to do it in the circle, it's great anchoring because you now know how to let go of things that makes you rigid and limit your abilities in real life. So you're just taking this and putting it there.
Yeah, and that's why Arthur called, when you're in the circle like that, Arthur calls it in the moment music.
Yeah.
All right. You don't have to play what I'm telling you to play. I'm not giving you rhythms that you have to perform in this drum circle in order to be successful. Play what you feel, play what comes out of you. All right. And that's why once you've reached orchestration in a drum circle, or once you've reached performance in a work group, there is a real sense of camaraderie and a real sense of spirit that comes out of this as well, because you've got a group of diverse people playing diverse numbers of instruments here, all right, that are all contributing to this greater whole. You know what I mean? And when you're in the drum circle like that, you've got all these different components, people and drums, but you create this magic rhythmical masterpiece that sometimes has people's jaws dropping. Wow, listen to the music we're doing. And people do not realize that they're able to contribute to such an enormous successful orchestrational piece. People don't realize that they have it in them unless it's facilitated out of them, right?
Nice.
And that's why you were talking earlier about some people who don't want to take responsibility. The best facilitators are inspirational facilitators, so that even those people that are tough are the ones that you got to work on the hardest.
Yeah, thank you. And I love what you said, because when I bring my whole self into life and bring my best out, when I'm free to be me, and if we live in a space, when we're in a space where everybody is free to be themselves, bringing out their very best, I can only imagine how rich the community is, how rich life can be. So, John, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the invitation. We've never really sat down. You've been a part of the drum circle community for many, many years now, but you and I have never really sat down to talk about this. So this has been a great opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, John. And Kennedy Michael says, I'm smiling while I do it. I think this is what he's doing when he's, so I can imagine you doing that, So John, thank you very much for helping us anchor the idea of being free with your metaphor and how you use drum circle to help people to be that way. But we're really looking at facilitation as a life skill to bring the best out of people. But before we can do that for people, we need to do it for ourselves. Thank you, John. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we say our final goodbye for the day?
Just a final thank you. For anybody who's interested in any of this, follow the My Beat Drum Circles Facebook page. My Beat trains people in drum circle facilitation. We train people how to use the map. If you are a facilitator, a corporate trainer, or something like that, we have a lot of corporate trainers who come into the group just because once they're in and they realize the value of this, it just changes their perspectives on training and facilitation. So keep that in mind. Watch the Facebook page. We plan, right now it's in the planning stage, in June to do a one-day introduction to drum circle facilitation. And later on in June, we're also planning a two-day program for advanced facilitators. We've got a lot of people who have taken our program. So now when we offer the 3-day program, we expect people to come back and they're like, well, I've already done the 3-day. I know what to do. So we're putting together a 2-day advanced program for advanced facilitators and anybody who's attended the 1-day or the 3-day program. So keep your eyes open for that. Watch the My Beat Drum Circles Facebook page. We also have a website, www.mybeat.com.my. So follow along, watch out, join us. We'd love to have you. Join the drum circle community. It's international. It's huge. It's resourceful. And there's just a lot of great people out there. Bala, thank you so much.
I would say there are lots of wonderful people besides John. So thank you very much, John. We'll say goodbye to John. And can assure you there are loads of good people. Now, so yes, I would encourage it. I hope I can get my kids back on track with Drum Circle too, because I think it's fantastic for their development as individuals more than anything. With that, this is Malar signing off from Being Whole, Being Me series 96. We are almost at the end of the season, which is 3 episodes away. So till I meet you next week with another exciting speaker, this is Malar signing off. Stay safe, stay well, and live well. Facilitating. Bye.